Larry Nichols, in his own right, was counterterrorism and a Green Beret and special operations in Latin America and Europe and you name it. He can speak to all this, and he ran campaigns for the Clintons. He was their big insider. He was in the hospital last week. He's out by the grace of God. We appreciate him joining us. But we now have what we predicted last week with Trump insider Roger Stone saying, look for the Jeb Bush to endorse Bush, excuse me, Freudian slip, their surrogate, their minion, because their name is fried, Ted Cruz. Now, I like Ted Cruz's rhetoric, but boy, his pedigree is Bush all the way. I'm not going to get back into it, but we'll play that short clip. It's about a minute long, coming up a little bit later. We have Arizona primary with Trump wins Arizona, Cruz wins Utah. Brussels terror, 3 suspects identified suicide bombers were brothers. They came in reportedly posing as migrant refugees. There's evidence of election fraud up on DrudgeReport.com from Godlike Productions, going through Utah caucuses. Mastermind bomber who posed as migrant attacked Paris last year is now chief suspect in Belgian atrocities. Police swoop in on home district in these no-go zones that they said Trump was lying about. They are also asking who would be a better fighter of terror, Trump or Clinton? Clinton's running ISIS and al-Qaeda on record. Meanwhile, a teacher who witnessed his Muslim students celebrating in the classroom after the attack, Paul Joseph Watson reports on, was given a police visit for his free speech. Yoga instructor shocked at support for terror bombings. A Belgian yoga instructor who tweeted that Muslim children were celebrating the attacks in Brussels later received a home visit from the police. Oh. On the same morning that the attacks unfolded, Ivar Mole tweeted, "How do you remember a lesson if there is your class," this is translated, "is applauded by Muslim children?" The tweet was accompanied by hashtags, and it went into the attack. Hours later, he tweeted that 3 police officers had visited his home and that there was no way he'd be tweeting in the future. Quote, "No longer will be tweeting." The police said they visited him because we wanted to see what was going on and whether it was true that there was applause in the classroom. Yeah, right. 7 strange questions about the Brussels terror attacks. We'll talk about that as well. But joining us is Larry Nichols, the consummate Clinton insider, to talk about what's happening, what's unfolding. Larry, what do you want to tackle first? The election, the bombings, the latest inside baseball on the investigation into the Scalia death. What's front and center, my friend?
Front and center, Alex, I believe, is the election. Just before coming on this program, I received information about the strategy from the RNC, the new strategy. And pretty dastardly. But, you know, Alex, I got to say this in front of your audience. I've done worse things in elections. I mean, I've rigged more elections than most people have voted in. What they're going to do, and this comes from what you saw with Jeb Bush endorsing Cruz, what they're going to do is they're going to go to all extremes to make sure that Trump does not get 1237. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to back him. They're going to support Cruz. They're going to look like they're on fire for Cruz. But it's simply to keep Trump from getting 1237. At that point, they've got a brokered convention. And you know, Alex, I tried to tell people last time I was on with you.
You said this 10 months ago on our show.
I know. You know, these parties, folks, they're not government agencies. They can change the rules as they choose, when they choose. They're rigging it against Trump. Now, I would give anything if somebody in this audience had the ability to get Trump to call me, because I can tell him what they're going to do and give a strategy against it. For example, they're fixing to start showing on the news that Trump's audiences are diminishing. That's right. They're going to start showing that his big speeches and all these people coming by the tens of thousands, they're diminishing. Do you know how they're doing that? They're doing that with George Soros. You see, these protesters that are showing up at Trump's speeches,
they're blocking the people from getting there.
Well, what they're trying to do, they're trying to get people to come out with violence, start ruckuses, because they know, Alex, that moral Christian conservatives, they're not into that. And so why would people come to a speech when they run the risk of getting hurt?
Why would you bring your children to something that would be irresponsible? Sure, it's a chilling effect.
It is. And then, so of course, guess what happens? You get to hear that his audiences are dwindling down. The magic is gone.
So the answer is it's got to be bigger audiences for the First Amendment to counter that baloney.
Absolutely. You know, folks, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you how to counter that. Go to Trump's rallies. When you see these paid protesters, don't pay them any attention. Don't get in a shouting fest with them. Don't do anything. Just pretend they are not there. Now, the other thing, anybody that gets attacked, this is a little inside trick that I guess I can be shot for telling you, but I'll tell you. Anybody that gets attacked, they need to file criminal charges. But what's neat about filing criminal charges, Alex, these people are being paid to be there. They're being paid to be there.
And so they go back and demand lawyers and all the rest of it, and that exposes the racketeering operation.
You got it. And whoever paid them to go to that speech and to protest and throw a fit and cause violence, that person is a co-conspirator.
Sure. When are people going to start pushing back to Soros? I mean, that old, ugly, Nazi collaborator, I mean, why is that guy so above the law?
Money, power. You know, he's right at the epicenter. You know, I told you until I'm sick of telling that they're not going to indict Hillary. I don't think there's anybody now that has any doubt. They're not going to indict Hillary. And the RNC is doing everything it can to make sure Hillary wins. I know it sounds crazy, but they are. They're going to pick their original candidate, I feel like, may still come back into the fold, because once they go to that brokered convention, you understand they can pick anybody they want.
Sure,
to.
When you were on 9-10 months ago saying that they're their own group, they can do whatever they want, they can stage it, even the NFL's own tickets say it's all fake. Now, it's not all fake, but when they want to make it fake, it is fake. It's even on the tickets like it's a WWF wrestling match. Well, the parties are even worse. They now have the head of the RNC Rules Committee on CNBC. I'm sure you saw that clip, admitting, look, it's all staged. Your vote doesn't matter. She says, so there shouldn't be a primary? He goes, that's right, and laughs at her.
That's right. And, you know, they go with this ruse that the first time around in the convention, the delegates have to vote with the vote of their state. That is an out-and-out lie. The delegates that are elected, when they get to that convention, get to vote their free will. That is the actual rule. And all this is about is to strip Trump of 1237. They beat him out of 1237, Alex. And we're going to get an appointed presidential candidate for the RNC.
And they're now openly admitting Paul Ryan or Mitt Romney and having liberal media even mainline that that's okay to now have appointed candidates. There'll be a backlash against the Republicans, and Hillary will sail into victory.
That's exactly it. That's it. You know, folks, I'm going to tell you, we can stop this. We can stop it, Alex. But Donald Trump, now, I'm not trying to get a job. I don't want to work for Donald Trump. I want to do what I do while I still have breath in my lungs, which may not be that long. I want to do what I do. He has got to call me because, as you know, Alex, maybe you can convince him, I've got inside tips on what's coming.
Well, I'm able to get messages to him, but that's about it. And he's surrounded by some pretty good folks, but some of them are pretty young. But yes, definitely, he does get the info that's on this show. But let's come back and talk about it. I was back in the break room getting a glass of iced tea during the break. And DirecTV, we have cable and DirecTV, and I think Dish. We have a lot of different communications here, a bunch of different internet services, wireless links, you name it, to try to be redundant when power goes out. We have generators, you name it. I mean, this is a defensive resistance operation set up basically around military doctrines of resistance during an occupation. And I've read the national emergency documents. We've been under martial law since 1933 with the War Powers Act and Franklin Roosevelt, but they've been slowly expanding them. And now under the different executive orders and civil emergencies that Larry Nichols talks about, that we've written articles about, they say we have, quote, re-education camps prepared for the Tea Party. I mean, that's in Army manuals. Why do you think military people are going public, like Tim Kennedy about America's in trouble, we're not going to confiscate guns? Because they got the military training for it. And just during the break, they had an EAS alert. And then I walked out and walked by and looked at cable TV. And it was on one of the channels there as well that was cable. I mean, they're practicing taking over. They've got the internet kill switch in place. I'm going to go ahead and have Larry Nichols with us till 50 after. This is a short segment. But it just hit me. We're under martial law when they have parties appointing candidates. I mean, they've had that on the books since 76, Democrats in 72, but the boldness of it and the boldness of don't use the word mother or father, and you use the wrong word, we're going to arrest you. And Europe's doing it. They've arrested the front runner, Marie Le Pen, who's a milquetoast conservative. People didn't recognize Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia in the middle of it till later. We are entering sick stuff, and rolling over to it, folks, is not the answer. I want to talk about solutions and how to counter this in the next segment. We got about 3-4 minutes left, Larry. You know, you were involved in all sorts of regime change in Latin America, black ops, and you can't get into it, it's classified. But that's why they hired you for dirty tricks, obviously, you know, with the Clintons and the Dixie mob. It's all the same group. But you're a guy that's reformed, woke up to it and said, I'm not killing kids. That's the backstory, folks that just tuned in. You know, you found your soul again, as you said, and hit your knees, and that's great. But a lot of folks in government are doing that too right now, but the system's just moving forward. You talk about the Strong Cities UN initiative. That was in my local paper that the UN's going to tell my government how to work. I mean, I'm living under world government now, and the average yuppie has no idea what they're living under. What's coming next, Larry? And everything you just heard me say, is that wrong or is that right?
No, that's all right. Excuse the dog. Somebody's walking by. But let me say this. Executive Order 13391, I know you've reported on it. It is the National Patriots Defense of Liberty Enabler Act. That thing calls, Alex, that thing calls for federal territories to fall, all federal territories to fall under Agenda 21, number one. But here's the kicker. It also facilitates the president to bring in UN troops to this country. Now, guys, if you don't think we're close, remember what I told you, Alex, about Cuba?
It says it officially. It's been in the Washington Post. You said 6 months ago they were going to use Cuban troops as part of the invasion force because they can mix in and speak Spanish. I mean, if it was Chinese troops or Russian, folks would fight.
Listen, it is 6 hours. They can have 250,000 black hat troops in this country. I have fought them. They're formidable. They are. Now, add to that executive order, where did it come from? Where did it come from, Alex, out of the blue? Why would he do that? Then Obama normalizes relationship with Cuba. But here's the kicker. Why did he go to Cuba? I mean, go down there to watch a ball game? You see, there are plans that have to be made, I believe, towards the facilitation of bringing those troops into this country that he can't make out of the White House.
And I tell you, the left would worship that. They would love to see foreign troops kicking conservatives and veterans' guts out in the street. They just lust for our blood.
Well, I'm telling you, he's over there right now. I believe, I can't prove this in a court of law, but soon I will be able to.
Castro looked like he was having an orgasm. The communists look like heaven has happened when he's over there.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, they're working out the fine details of this operation. Now, we got to do what you were saying, Alice. We can't just talk about these things. We got to stop them. Stop them. There is a way to stop that executive order. A solution, as you
Stay there. Let's talk about it in the long segment. Stay there and how to get Trump informed of what's happening and where this is all going. Larry Nichols. And, of course, you say Trump may be informed and stop him, but you're also saying Obama may double-cross Hillary. So let's talk about the different scenarios. Are there 3, are there 4, are there 5? With the consummate insider, Larry Nichols, I'm Alex Jones. And make no mistake, The Republic has never been in greater danger. This is really happening. Things are geopolitically so dangerous. There's so much open, classical, authoritarian, totalitarian behavior going on. The preparations are staggering. All over the U.S., they're spending billions to put cable highway dividers out in the most rural areas so you can't turn around and jump on the other side of the highway. America is having extra highway dividers placed at key positions to lock down and cordon cities. And the only people that are awake are the military because they're being trained to do it, and they are freaking out. And they're tuning into this show. I don't really know how valuable that is. I think it's valuable, but they don't know what to do because the public only cares about Beyonce, who's saying, let's have race riots at the Super Bowl, which is financed by the government again. All run by the system to bring the country down. I don't know how grave it is. I don't know if this is a beta test for 5 or 10 years down the road, but no spy novel, no movie could come close. I mean, nothing I've seen in 25 years of being politically involved, 21 years on air, comes close to the confluence, the perfect storm, the lining up of the constellations on this. I've gone the last year from having a bad feeling and my spider sense being off the chart to now it's just, you're in it. I'm not even really nervous anymore. I'm just like, wow, what's coming next? It's crazy. We're going to go back to Larry Nichols here in a moment. Also, they make a big joke out about this almost weekly in national news. And I want to show some of these articles soon and do a commercial showing it, going, you know, with a laugh track. Ha, 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 ha. Look at the Washington Post saying Alex Jones is crazy. Or look at this publication. He claims there's dangerous things in the water. Ha, 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 ha. And then I'll just cut to glyphosate is in all water supply in the U.S. linked to massive cancer. Or even EPA and FDA say take fluoride out of the water. It's causing cancer. And then have a laugh track, showing Reuters. And then I cut to super high quality gravity-fed filters that reduce or completely remove over 300 pathogens. But when I say reduce, like 99.9%, the studies, the third-party test are all up on InfoWarsStore.com. It's how we fund our operation. It's a no-brainer. It's 10% off promo code WATER. It's the vetted, tested, best filters that don't just take out bad taste. Maybe you don't care about yourself. You got this bulletproof attitude like most men do that, whatever, I can do whatever I want. What about your kids? Our water, just look at what's happening up in, Michigan and places in Flint. That's nothing. It runs the gamut. It is a nightmare scenario. They take healthy water, good, clean aquifer water, and dump tons of poison in it right here in Austin. You need these filters, shower filters, water filters, all of it. You need these, and we've got all sorts of survival straws and life straws and other great systems. The very best systems, the whole wide selection, bigger than you'll find at a huge department store, even a survival store, at InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. I sell things you need that fund our operation that's extremely expensive to run. I'm not complaining. It's a mission. I'm very happy. But take advantage of the nutraceuticals at InfoWarsLife.com, the Anthroplex back in stock, the Super Male Vitality, the Brain Force, the X2 Nation Iodine, and the dozens of other great products, the game changers. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. 20% off the Liver Shield Deep Cleanse and Oxy Powder for the 6-day deep cleanse. That's back in. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, and a lot of specials running right now that will end next week. Again, some of the other specials just ended yesterday. I want to thank you all that took advantage of those because the whole establishment marvels in InfoWars that we're able to be on 180-plus AM and FM stations, dozens of UHF, VHF cable stations and growing, tens of millions of internet viewers and listeners every week, 26 to 28 million per week globally, 15 million domestically. But the real power is you taking the videos, the articles, the information, what we put out, and sending it to everybody you know. That's the real solution, as I'm sure Larry Nichols will tell you. Before he leaves us at the end of the hour, also want to encourage you to check out what he's doing. And if you appreciate the work he's doing, support him because he is battling lung cancer. He doesn't like to talk about it. He was in the hospital last week, couldn't come on. And he's had a tracheotomy, the whole 9 yards. He's fighting for his life. and lost pretty much everything he has fighting the establishment. And he's a great asset with his intel. And so with his medical bills and things, we're going to put up on screen for TV viewers in a little while. And then also at the end, give it out verbally, his PayPal for folks that want to be able to visit that. So get a pen and paper ready. Going back to you, Larry Nichols, I also want to open the phones up for a couple callers, specifically for Larry Nichols, and their quick questions, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. The system's running around wild. Just engaging in bizarre behavior. There's three different options. What, Obama tries to stay, Hillary gets in, or Trump. What are the other options? Where do you see it all going? What do you expect to happen with the Soros folks trying to cause a, quote, racial/class warfare 1917 Bolshevik deal? What are the different ingredients? What are the different areas of the perfect storm? Where do you see it going, and how do we try to counter it?
All right, Alex, there's no doubt. You've got two major events being facilitated right now. Number one is to create a centralized government power elite. That's Hillary. That's Hillary and Bill. That's their agenda. Complicit with that are the Republicans. The Republicans. You see, if Hillary takes over and she becomes king, and I say king versus queen, if she becomes king, all members of Congress get to be dukes and earls, like in the 1600s European models. So they get to be power players. Now, yeah, they're big fish in smaller ponds.
And they'll leave after 20
fish.
years, and their son or daughter, just like Raul or just like Kim Jong-un, will become the new viceroy.
There's option one. Option two. Obama is trying to turn us into an Islamic caliphate, this country. And if he can do that, then he becomes and will become the global leader of Islam globally.
Now, everything you've said has been total inside baseball and has basically come true. Is that from your high-level sources or your own analysis?
You bet. No, that's not from analysis. Not on something like this. Number one, you just can't. Hell, I couldn't even imagine this stuff.
So tell me how level, because I mean, I know some famous national people that say you were back at the beginning of the whole thing trying to take down Clinton. I mean, I know you've been there, have a lot of big contacts, you name it. How high level, and specifically, what are they saying about his plan to create a caliphate?
Well, it's some of the former top generals in the military who were riffed out because they were not going to go along with the sinister plan. Then I have two ambassadors that were involved, believe it or not, with the plan. And then when they found out the trueness of it, they didn't think it was real. They didn't think it was coming. They called me. And then, as you know, I got people on, or got a person, let's just say, on the Supreme Court. So I have pretty good, deep inside information. And about stuff like this, you would never want to speculate. And that's why I can tell you these things, and you see them. Look at him now. He's in Cuba. For what? For what? To watch a ball game? No. Why would you, out of the blue, normalize relations with Cuba? What did we get out of it? Alex, that's what people got to ask. What did we get out of normalizing relationships with Cuba? Now, they get a lot. We don't get anything. Look, these two options are on the table. The third option is the one we got to fight for. And that's Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make Donald Trump.
No, I hear you. He's not perfect. But listen, there's a reason they're pulling their hair out. That is not an act. Right. They are having a conniption fit. Why?
Well, because Donald Trump, they can't trust. You see, when you go to Washington, you've got to be pliable. Now, everybody in Washington, that is probably per capita. You know this, Alex. Per capita, that's the filthiest group of people. Pedophiles, drug addicts, drunkards. You could not put that many people in one place if you tried, but that's where they are.
So they don't have dirt on him. He's not ashamed of having girlfriends when he's divorced. He doesn't care. He's never stepped and fetched. He hasn't taken orders.
He hadn't taken orders, and more importantly, he hadn't taken money. He hadn't taken money from the big power players. So that's Donald Trump. That's why he may be the best. Well, he is the best shot we got. Is he perfect? Is it absolute? I don't know. Won't know till he gets there. But then that brings us to what we got to do. Now, folks, if you want to shut down an executive order, let me tell you a secret. Congress has 30 days on any executive orders to rescind it. If Congress does not rescind that executive order in 30 days, Alex, it becomes a law. Just like if it went through the legal process of the House, the Senate vote, and President.
Same thing with signing statements. If they don't override that, it becomes a law.
That's right. Now, we got 30 days. We're out of those 30 days. What I'd like to provide, Alex, is give it to you probably tomorrow and get you put it up. A script. I'm going to tell people exactly who to call. What congressmen and senators, this is the time we got the most power. Alex, they're scared to death. They want their job. They don't care about us. They want to keep their job, especially with the impending doom of the country as we know it. They want their job. So we have power now.
That's right. They want their power to try to protect themselves during the takeover.
That's it. So we're going to have, I've got a script that I want to provide to you. And to all of you in the audience, I suggest you take that script. And with it will be who to call. And it tells you exactly what to say. Say those words exactly. Don't expand on it.
Well, I mean, certainly you can write the script, but, the basic call to action. But basically, what is it? Just say, look, we need to...
Basically, it's just right here. Hello, I'm calling to say this. Mr. Congressman, or for the congressman, there is an executive order, 13391, which calls for all federal territories to fall under Agenda 21 and for the bringing in UN troops. So tell the congressman that if he doesn't rescind that before the time expires, I will do everything in my power, everything my family can do, all of my friends. We will see to it that you never get elected to office again. Now, I'm telling you, we did it, as you'll recall. Remember, Alex, we did this same trick against that Dubai Ports deal. We called in, had them read a script, and guess what? Shut it down. Shut it down. We can shut this down.
Sure, they shot down Agenda 21 in the 90s and again in the 2000s. Now they're bringing it in by stealth.
That's right.
I want to bring this up. A lot of experts thought that Clinton coming out and saying the disaster of the last 8 years, the disastrous legacy, was a shot at Obama because he's getting where they're going to try to double-cross Hillary and their return to full power. Let's play that clip and get your take on it. Here it is from 2 days ago.
But if you believe we can all rise together, if you believe we finally come to the point where we can put the awful legacy of the last 8 years behind us and the 7 years before that, where we were practicing trickle-down economics and no regulation in Washington, which is what caused the crash, then you should go for it.
Well, first off, Hillary was a big part of that legacy. Obama was one of their creations, though they've been fighting, obviously. What is that statement? I mean, what does that mean?
That is what Bill knows. Bill is the consummate politician. I know because I helped train him. What he is doing is he's cutting. He knows the problem Hillary has. She has to cut away, Alex, from Obama. She's got to. Now, to keep her from being put in a situation where if she actually said something like that, there would be somebody jump her and say, what are you talking about? You were a part of it. Bill said it. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're building this divide between them and Obama. And remember, while you and I are talking right now, Bill Clinton and Hillary and their minions are calling congressmen and senators left and right and saying, if you go along with Obama in declaring a national crisis, state of crisis, we will destroy you. That's what they're doing.
Let me ask you this question. Now. Is Soros playing both the Clintons and the Obamas? We know he's funding both, even a little bit to Sanders. Who is he from your intel fully behind? Because he's trying to start a civil emergency right now. That would mean he's working for Obama.
Soros is out for Soros, George Soros, because I've asked that same question to people everywhere. It doesn't make sense. He's working with Hillary. He's working with, he's working with the Republicans. He wants America to become a communist nation. He ain't in. He doesn't want it to be an Islamic caliphate, I can tell you that. But he believes in the consolidation of power. He believes that he should own this country. He's believed that for many years,
sure.
Alex. You know that.
Break down some of the other angles of the who are the major power broker elites? The Anglo-American old banks, the big oil companies, big pharma, the big central banks are obviously chief. They wanted kind of a Carroll Quigley merger of socialism and fascism into a managed capitalist system with socialism and communism to control the public. But clearly, Obama has double-crossed, or our elite has, and is trying to put Saudi Arabia and the worst jihadist in power. Our elite would actually do this? What is their problem? Those people will saw their heads off in a minute.
Now, let me tell you, the power players, the oil, the banks, those people, they're not with Obama. They're not with him on turning this into Islamic caliphate. They got enough sense against that.
Then what's their
But
problem?
They're afraid. Well, they're afraid to come out overtly against Obama because he'll destroy him.
So they got double-crossed. They didn't...
They got, yeah. I mean, and he'll destroy him. He can still, he's like a rattlesnake, Alex. He may be dead, but don't get near those fangs. Look, they want what Bill Clinton told me about years ago. He said, you know what the perfect government is, Nichols? And I said, what? He said, where all you have are the number of people you could count on one hand. And they got everything. They're in power. Everybody else is dirt poor. And I said, well, why you want to do that? Well, because you only have to answer to 4 or 5 people.
Sure, Carroll Quigley wrote an 1,100-page book and admitted that is their master plan.
That's right. Everybody else is so dirt poor, you don't have time to worry about
That is
politics.
the U.S. CIA globalist policy that was adopted in 1967 from Carroll Quigley. They admitted certified planetary plan, neo-feudalism.
And guess who wants to be in that group? That small handful.
Clintons.
George Soros.
So Soros wants
yeah, well, the Clinton. Soros believes that it needs to be him and a couple of 3 of his buddies. Now, you have some of the other bankers and all those people that think they need to be in it.
But they're never fighting global government because they all think they're going to control it.
They're going to control it. They're not going to fight this. They're going to fight us, Alex. We're the target. Dear God, we're the target.
I know. Free people, independent, not under their control. We're going to take two different sections of calls. Debbie, Santos, or Santino, Judy, and others. Stay with us. We'll be back. Adolf Hitler called it the will to power, or the will to take power. And these rotten oligarchs are completely and totally amoral. Like on 60 Minutes, George Soros said, yeah, I rounded up thousands of Jews. I'm not ashamed of it. I did it to survive. And I talk to Democrats, and they go, well, it's okay Soros did that. He did it to survive. You're like saying, I'll kill my mother to survive. No, I won't. And you read the Bible, how the kings of the earth get together in 10 regions, 3 mega regions, 10 sub-kings, and they combine forces to bring in a world government because they all want the power. And then finally, one entity takes it all over, and it's the devil. And I talk about that in mainstream media, makes fun of me and says he believes the devil's controlling it. If it isn't the devil, what is it? It sure fits the bill. Larry Nichols is our guest for this segment and one more. Let's go to your phone calls.
Can you hear me? I've lost audio.
Yes, sir. Your audio just came back
Alex,
in.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, thank God. I'd lost audio for some reason.
Yeah, there's a little bit of duplexing going on. Let's put, in fact, I forgot. I did this during the break. Let's put your PayPal up for folks so people can try to support you and keep you alive as long as possible. I know you're struggling. It's 58 Kingsington Drive, Conway, Arkansas, 72034. PayPal is nicholslive@AOL.com. Nicholslive@AOL.com. Okay, can you hear us now, Larry?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good, because there was some clicking and buzzing going on. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go ahead and talk to Maya in Kansas. You're on the air with Larry Nichols. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks. You know, I'm really kind of concerned, and I'd like to get some input on the relationship between Glenn Beck and Ted Cruz. Now, I'm a Christian, and I was a part of the same kind of Christianity that Ted Cruz follows years and years ago until I found out what was going on. And it's all based around this whole dominionism theology, the theonomity with Rush Downey and Dooney and all these people. And so when I caught Glenn Beck ranting and raving about the way America was responding to Donald Trump as opposed to Ted.
Yeah, he says you're going to hell if you don't vote for Cruz. So, I mean, what's your question about the Bush endorsement? Let me ask this. Who is Ted Cruz from your sources? What do you think about him?
Alex, Ted Cruz is an absolute fraud. An absolute fraud. Donald Trump wasn't kidding when he called him a liar. You know, Ted Cruz came up through the Bush organization, the oil money. His wife, Goldman Sachs, she's now on the committee for the Central American Union or the whatever. He's a fraud. Now, what gets me about Beck, and Beck's going to mess up and lose his audience, I'm telling you, especially that last trick they did when
he's already lost half his audience. He's killing himself.
Well, he's going to lose. He's going to lose more, especially when he and Romney did that part, which is a Mormonism thing, saying that, you know, Cruz is coming to ride in on a white horse, which means he's the Messiah. Guys, these are sick people. Don't. I know it's hard to believe because it looks like Ted Cruz fought, Alex. It looks like he fought on the floor for the Tea Party and such like that. He did that to grow him a base. That's all it was about. He's no different than the others. Now, I got.
Well, I know this. Jeb Bush came out and endorsed him this morning. That doesn't look too good.
Doesn't look good, does it? Doesn't. And it kind of makes you wonder if he's really that distance to the power players, huh?
Well, the word I was always told in Texas is that he was Bush run. So we wouldn't even interview him. He wanted on the show. We did a TV interview. And then he did some good stuff in the Senate, so I reserved judgment.
Well, don't reserve judgment anymore. Know who these people are, Alex. Please.
Well, there's no doubt about it, ma'am. That was a great question. We're going to come back and talk to Debbie, Judy, Santino, and others. Stay with us. Larry Nichols is our guest. Final segment with Larry Nichols. Then the doctor, the Senate candidate in Arizona, beating in most polls. John McCain's joining us. Debbie in Minnesota, you're on the air with the consummate Clinton insider who's been exposing him for 22 years, Larry Nichols. Larry, let's talk to Debbie. Debbie?
You bet.
Hi there, Mr. Nichols. Hi, Alex. I just had a question. I just got some information yesterday about Claire Lopez. She was a former CIA trainer, like a security analyst, weapons of mass destruction specialist in the Middle East. I was just wondering if you're familiar with her, because they said she's coming to our small town in Minnesota to kind of warn about the Islamic attacks in the coming months, the global Islamic movement.
Yeah, I'm not aware of her. Let me see if he is. We're moving quick. I apologize for the time.
Not at all.
Okay, what about 5 million Islamists coming in from radical areas, over 1 million in the U.S.? They're keeping the number artificially low, but it's much higher than they're saying. I'd say 1 million. Clearly, is this a sleeper cell plan? Use the crisis.
Alex, they're coming in, and if you look at what the Obama people are telling these people when they come in, they're telling them not to assimilate. Obama's people are telling these Islamic people, don't assimilate into a society here. And he's setting it up to where they will keep their society. He's setting, you know, what's going to happen when Dearborn, Michigan declares a caliphate? It's coming. Alex, that's coming. One day, we're going to wake up, and Dearborn, Michigan's going to say, hey, we're no longer a part of the United States. We are an Islamic caliphate. What do you think anybody can do about it?
It's the perfect balkanization. They're really doing it. You can see it in Europe and the U.S. You criticize it when your daughter gets raped, and then the police come arrest you. It's like, hey, they're God now. They're your masters now. Debbie, I appreciate your call.
Thank you, Debbie.
I had Tim Kennedy in here, who's, you know, high-level anti-terrorism units and stuff, and he said, look, they're bringing them in to attack, to then take our liberties. I think it's just that simple.
You know, Alex, next week, I will have confirmation on something that for the first time, I'll be able to tell you with absolution and verification of what this Syrian invasion's all about, what they're really doing. I know, and I think you know.
Isn't it creating a corridor to the rest of the Middle East to invade Europe?
It's the takeover of America.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's the corridor into Europe. That's unbelievable. Or Santino, I'm saying it right, in California, earlier with Larry Nichols. Go ahead.
Yes, my question's for Larry Nichols, and I live in California, and my friend who was working at Disneyland recently told me that he was to get blackballed from the company if he didn't train a Syrian refugee to take his job. And they threatened that if he didn't train him, they wouldn't allow him to ever work in an amusement park in California ever again. And he told me basically they're just Syrian refugees coming in California. They're getting enlisted in all these job positions without even having experience for the job. And
Right.
now,
Well, listen, I have undercover reporters right now with a huge show, huge broadcast breaking next week, where they give them real Social Security numbers, fake names, paychecks, and are just kicking everybody out of Section 8 at levels 100 times what the news says. It's a total invasion. They fly the planes in every night to Bergstrom and other airports, and it's actually in the news. I mean, this is a total invasion, and they're all military-age men, by the way. Is this part of the military invasion, Larry?
Yes, it is. And, Alex, they've got these major corporations committed to give all of these quote-unquote refugees minimum pay of $15 an hour, when Americans that are doing the very same job that they're going to lose get minimum wage.
Economic warfare. Larry Nichols, God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Thank God you survived that bout in the hospital. Everybody pray for him. We're going to be back with a major candidate going up against John McCain. This is a big deal. She's leading in the polls. Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction. Easy assembly. Low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.